Yo, what is up guys, Boy here. A final thoughts video for Vasyl Lomachenko versus Luke Campbell. Obviously this fight goes down tomorrow evening in the UK at the O2 Arena in London. It's fast approaching, we're nearly there, and I just wanted to, share my final thoughts on this fight. Firstly, it's great for the UK scene. Lomachenko is coming to the UK to apply his trade and showcase his skills. It's great for the UK scene. He's been well received in the UK, and ultimately I just believe it's a great look for British boxing. You saw Lomachenko at the open workout, and the amount of young kids who were looking at this guy like he was Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo. It was great to see, it really was. And Lomachenko, he's inspiring the next generation of boxers, and for him to come to the UK and showcase himself is just great for the scene, in my opinion. And I just wanted to get that out of the way. They weighed in today. I've got to say, Lomachenko looked in great shape, not drained at all. I think lightweight is a fairly easy weight cut for him. Doesn't really have to take off too much weight. He's always in shape. It's not too strenuous. Lomachenko looks great at 135 pounds. Lomachenko weighed in at 134.5 pounds and, like I say, looked great. As for Luke Campbell, he weighed in at 134.25 pounds. And Luke Campbell actually looked as good as I've seen him on the scales for quite some time. Several fights at lightweight, Luke Campbell has looked dead on the scales. You can date back to that first fight with Ivan Mendy. I felt Campbell looked terrible on the scales against Mendy, and that was 3 or 4 years ago now. So it's been a good weight cut. I think Luke Campbell looks quite energised. He doesn't look that drained. Obviously the weight cut is still a hard thing to do, but to me he looks quite healthy. He looks good, he looks cut, and he looks ready to go. At the face-off, Luke Campbell had, laser focus on Lomachenko. He was trying to stare him out, display his confidence, whereas Lomachenko was remaining calm, composed, relaxed, and, he was within himself. I think he knows what the deal is here. He knows he's levels above Luke Campbell, and, Luke Campbell, to me, appeared to be a guy who was trying to pump himself up. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. If that gives you the motivation, if that gives you that extra 5%, fair enough. But I agree with Tim Bradley. I think Luke Campbell is trying to convince himself he belongs at this level, whereas Lomachenko, he knows he belongs at this level. He truly believes he is the best fighter in the world. And, when you're facing a fighter like that, that's a tough task. So, listen, the weigh-in, Lomachenko looked great. Luke Campbell looked in good shape as well. Certainly one of the better weight cuts he's had in his career to date. And you could certainly see the advantages in height and reach that Luke Campbell has over Lomachenko. But I still feel the same way about this fight as I've always felt. To me, Lomachenko, big favourite. And I fully expect him to win this fight fairly comfortably. Wouldn't be surprised to see Luke Campbell have some success early on at range. But once Lomachenko adjusts, once he gets past that range, what happens then? I think Luke Campbell struggles. Look at the Pedraza fight, for example. Pedraza, in that fight at times, had success from range, from long punches. But what happened when Lomachenko adjusted? What happened down the stretch? Pedraza got beaten up. What happens when Lomachenko figures Campbell's style out and the long-range boxing isn't working as it was? What happens then? I think Campbell gets beaten up. I really don't believe Campbell is effective at mid-range, and certainly not on the inside. Campbell got a lovely 1-2 from that southpaw stance. Nice solid right jab and long left hand behind it. He's got a nice sort of wide left hook as well that can catch you in the 3/4 distance. But, once you get past Luke Campbell's range, I think he struggles. We saw that against Ivan Mendy, for example. When Mendy was inside, Campbell really didn't know what to do, to be honest with you. And don't get it twisted, Lomachenko is a much different fighter than Ivan Mendy. But, what I'm saying is, I think Vasyl Lomachenko can negate that range, get to mid-range, get to the inside, and he will have a field day to the head and especially to the body. So, listen, I still fully expect this fight to go the same way. I still make Luke Campbell a massive underdog, and I fully expect Vasyl Lomachenko to win this fight well. Like I say, wouldn't be surprised if Campbell has some success early on, but once Lomachenko adjusts, I think it's a wrap. Campbell, like I say, great boxer from range, nice and smooth, a nice clean boxer to watch. But, once you get past that range, I think he struggles, and I believe that will be the case in this fight. You guys know I'm picking Lomachenko in this fight. I'm picking Lomachenko by late stoppage. I believe Luke Campbell gets dropped fairly early on with a flash knockdown to the head, similar to how he got knocked down against Argenis Mendez earlier on in his career. And later on in the fight, I believe Luke Campbell will succumb to body shots. So I'm going with a Vasyl Lomachenko late stoppage in this fight, and my thoughts hasn't really changed on that. I fully expect Lomachenko to win this fight. As for Luke Campbell, listen, the guy will give it a go. He is a good boxer in his own right. I'm not saying he's a bad fighter. I certainly believe he's top 10 rated, and if he can make a good account of himself and give Lomachenko problems, be competitive in a few rounds, then Luke Campbell can come back from this fight, no problem at all. For me, Campbell is in a no-lose situation in this fight. He's expected to lose, ultimately. So listen, if you're Luke Campbell, if I'm around him, if I'm his trainer, I am telling him to let it all hang out and just give it your best. Give it your all and, go for it. Don't be passive. Don't be, waiting for things to happen. Try to make things happen. Try to give Lomachenko problems. Try to surprise him. Try to show something new. Show endeavour, If Luke Campbell does that, even in defeat, he can come back. Like I say, for me, he's a top contender at lightweight, and he's a good fighter in his own right. I just fully expect Lomachenko to win this fight by late stoppage. But I don't expect him to stop Luke Campbell to the head. I think it will be to the body, if I'm being honest. And one last thing, people are talking about the range of Luke Campbell, and I've mentioned it myself. Maybe that will give Lomachenko problems, and people look back to that Pedraza fight. But one thing we have to consider, that Pedraza fight, that was Lomachenko's first fight since coming off shoulder surgery, that right shoulder. And in that fight, Lomachenko was very reluctant to throw that right hand with regularity. In the Anthony Crolla fight, Vasyl Lomachenko was throwing that right hand with much more regularity, and as we saw, he knocked Anthony Crolla out with that right hook to the top of the head. So that's another thing to consider. If Vasyl Lomachenko has that right hand back, that right hook, which in my opinion is his best punch, listen, Luke Campbell, he's on a hiding to nothing, in my opinion. I like Luke Campbell. I think he's a good fighter. I think he's a class act and a good guy, but I just don't expect him to win this fight, to be quite honest. And that's just my opinion. Share your thoughts on the main event below. Have your thoughts changed as we are getting closer to the fight? Do you give Campbell more of a chance than other people? Or do you, like me, feel Lomachenko is a huge favourite going into this fight? Share your thoughts below. In regards to the undercard, I've already made a prediction for Hughie Fury versus Alexander Povetkin. I expect Povetkin to win that fight. The only thing with me is in that fight, I'm just not sure how he does it, whether it's points or knockout. I've got a funny feeling Povetkin knocks Hughie Fury out as Hughie Fury leaves a clinch. If you look at Hughie Fury, after he exits a clinch, his hands are low, his chin's in the air, and for me, he's there to be hit. I don't fully expect it, but I could see Povetkin timing Hughie in that moment with a big leaping left hook, and I could see that cleaning Hughie Fury out. I expect Povetkin to beat Hughie Fury, if I'm being honest. I just believe he will be more active, he will land the better shots, and he will have Hughie Fury on the retreat. I just don't think Hughie Fury is positive enough to even get a robbery victory, if I'm being honest. So I do have Povetkin in that fight. And lastly, in regards to the Charlie Edwards versus Julio Cesar Martinez de Goya fight, I've got to say, I think this is the best fight on the card in terms of being a high-level 50-50 matchup. Charlie Edwards is an outboxer. He likes to stick and move. He'll pop that jab. He'll throw quick combinations and he'll get out. Whereas Julio Cesar Martinez Aguiar is an aggressive fighter. He'll dig down to the body. He'll cut that ring off and he'll try and chase you down. This is the boxer versus the puncher, or boxer versus the brawler, boxer versus the pressure fighter. However you want to describe it. It's a great style clash. I think these guys are evenly matched. And listen, I think it's a 50-50. But if you're asking me to make a pick, you know what? Something tells me Julio Cesar Martinez Aguiar wins this fight. And probably by a late stoppage. Now, I'm not confident in that pick. I love this fight. I think it's a great fight. Cannot wait for it. Credit to both guys for taking it. But yeah, I am going to wrap this one up. Share your thoughts below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Peace.